Sutton to come up and please present the award to the mayor.
Okay, Michael has been reading the award that we're presenting. Mayor Booker.
On behalf of the Sephardic Community Federation, the Jacob Bar Sibon Award is presented to Mayor Cory Booker in recognition of his exceptional service to the public and his dedication to improving the lives of all his constituents. Sephardic Community Federation, I am Dava co-chairman, Ronald Towell co-chairman, Sam Sutton president, Avi Spitzer, chief operating officer, Tuesday, March 27th, 2012.
Kodak moment.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. I didn't expect to get to receive an award, and I appreciate that. I wish you had told me that. I would have brought my mom with me tonight. But I'm sure you each will write individual letters to my mother. It is a mitzvah, after all, to give you a mother nachas for her child. And I just want you to know I'm really overwhelmed. I thought we were going to have a smaller conversation. This is such a wonderful to have a room full such as this. I'd really love to actually get to a conversation as quickly as possible, but really to discuss whatever issues are on your mind. But far be it from me, as a very large African-American boy, to miss an opportunity to stand before a group of Jews and give a Dvar Torah. And perhaps in many ways, it is a very reasonable Dvar Torah because I had an amazing experience. I ended basically 2011 going into this year with the kind of lift, ascendancy that I never ever imagined. Now, you have to forgive me because I do know a lot about Judaism and Jewish scholars and Jewish rabbis, and one of my favorite heroes is a man named Maimonides, who has different levels of charity, in fact 8 levels of charity. And I'm about to knock a guy down a level for some of his charity, because one of the things that you want to do is if you give charity to someone and have nobody know about it, that's a higher level of charity. As soon as people know about it, you get knocked down. So I love this guy, and I know he'll forgive me for this, because I'm about to knock him down. And a buddy of mine in the back named Abe Eisenstadt, who is back, I'm sorry, you just went lower. You're lower in God's eyes. I'm sorry. Made the mistake at a wedding of a daughter of a friend of ours. A rabbi was having a wedding for his daughter, and we're dancing, and we had first really became friends in Israel, and that was 18, 20 years ago. And he said, when are we going to go back to Israel? I said, whenever you want to. He goes, let's go. And I said, okay. He did not know that when he sobered up the next morning, the first call he would get from me would be from me saying, let's actually do this. And so long story short, I really wanted to bring my parents to Israel because they had never been. Well, I had been before, they had never been. So Abe made arrangements to have the trip of our lifetime. I mean, my parents went, and my dad was getting older. He's got Parkinson's. This is that was probably his last major trip of his life. And have my parents ascend to Israel to land, have them taken care of. We did incredible things all around the country. Had Israeli Special Forces guys showing us around, treated my parents with such dignity. We went up in helicopters, flew over Masada. The most amazing trip you could imagine. But the problem was one night, my parents went to bed, and the Israeli Special Forces guy says to me, let's go for a ride. And I say, okay. And I get in the car, and we start driving. But next thing you know, we leave the road. And we're now going out into the desert, away from everything. And all I could do is put my head down and think to myself, okay, this is what they do to the Goyim. Take them out in the desert and leave them. And so I was wondering how many people knew where I was. Because I sent up some signal. My cell phone wasn't getting service. And so I started having this sinking feeling as we ascend up in the desert onto what amounts to a mountain, but really a hill. And we get there, and the guys jump out of the car, and they actually start building a fire. And then they start giving me a visual tour, because we look down into the valley, into the city, And then we looked over to another mountaintop, and it was Mount Nebo. Now, I actually do know a lot about the Bible and about a lot about the Torah, but I didn't know Mount Nebo, because when I see names I don't know, I usually skip over them to get to whatever the essence of the story was. And they explained to me that on Mount Nebo is where Moses went to and ascended and looked over and saw, finally God gave him the gift of seeing the promised land, even though he could not go into the valley and go there. And it was a very powerful moment for me, because as soon as I found out that that's where Moses stood, I made the connection to that week's Torah at the end of December. And that week's Torah reading, many of you know, it's when Joseph's brothers see him and throw him into the bottom of the well. But what they say to their brother is words that mean so much in the Jewish tradition, the Christian tradition, but especially in the African American tradition. The words that the brothers say is, "Behold, here cometh the dreamer. Let us slay him and see what shall become of his dream." And the reason why that was meaningful to me, to see Mount Nebo and to know these words from the Torah, was because I also knew that at the Lorraine Motel, the very site where Martin Luther King was assassinated, if you go there today, you will read those words. "Behold, here cometh the dreamer, let us slay him and see what will become of his dream." And now I'm looking at the mountaintop, where not only Moses stood, but hours before King was slain, he actually gave that last speech that most of us know, where he talked about, "I have been to the mountaintop. I have looked over. My eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord." And here I am in the desert with these mighty Israeli Special Forces guy, and one rather round and overweight Jewish Ashkenazi guy from New York. I love you, Abe. What's that?
I resent the Ashkenazi.
You resent the Ashkenazi. Play to the crowd, Abe. Play to the crowd. And I asked for their iPad. They were getting reception, and I pulled up that speech. And it was beautiful to me to see is two Americans, two Israelis, listening to an African-American Baptist minister in Israel. And you could see all of us were touched and emotional because of those words. And it was a powerful moment for my life, frankly. We ended up sitting there eating and drinking and talking and bonding. Came down from the mountaintop. They did return me to the hotel. I never was so happy to see King James in the hotel. I got on my knees and kissed the ground. But I returned to America with a lot of powerful emotions. It was a wonderful opportunity for me to see how much Israel is changing in ways that give me incredible hope. In a nation that had 2% GDP growth last year, to come back from a nation that had 3 times that had a nation that was focused on economic growth. It really was a lot of lessons that I learned for my own city, to see how they were on the cutting edge of technology, the cutting edge of innovation, how the city recognized, like America should, that the nation recognized, like America should, that their security was interwoven with their financial prosperity. Powerful to me, but I also felt a spiritual call when I came back. That in many ways, as a generation of Americans who stands on the shoulders of others, who've yielded to us so many blessings. My parents would tell me as a boy, don't walk around here like you hit a triple. You were born on third base. That you are a young man that drinks deeply from wells of freedom and liberty and opportunity that you did not do. You eat lavishly from banquet tables prepared for you by the hands of your ancestors. And you have a choice. You can sit back and get dumb, fat, and happy, consuming all that's been put before you. Or you could take your blessings and metabolize them. Metabolize those blessings and have them fuel you in your forward push for greater opportunity, greater justice, greater peace in this world. Now, I'm proud to stand here now before this group because in many ways what you all are committed to is some of those very same ideals and principles. Some of you are involved in my city. Some of you are involved in the metropolitan area. But all of you are understanding that by coming together as a community of people, affirming many things, your common bonds, your common faith, your common vision, that it is through this connection that we can make the world a better place. And if I can, before I get back to the days of politics and policy, which I do want to get to, I'd like to stay here for a second and take a moment to push you a little bit. It takes incredible chutzpah for a boy from Newark to push an organization like this, but allow me to push you and challenge you, and then we can get back to some of the things going on in Newark. I want to challenge you because I'm telling you right now, we're in a nation that is in crisis because not of a lack of economic opportunity, not because of a lack of facility, not because of a lack of potential, but because of values. We are a nation really that's having a crisis of values. You know, when my grandmother lectures me about how could consumer debt have risen so high, when we see our culture being perverted by the images and the messages that kids are getting from TV, that they watch more than they actually go to school. When we see parents who don't get a chance to even sit down and have meals with their kids, which is probably, most social scientists say, one of the best ways to communicate family values. There's so many things that are beginning to undermine the core of this country. Materialism, narcissism, meism, a lot of things that to me, we need to get back on track. I was in my office, in the mayor's office today, talking with some folks about children and how we can do better in imparting them values. And in this context, to me, Jewish values are very important. Gandhi once said you should honor your incarnation. You should honor your incarnation. The universe, God does not make mistakes. You were born who you are for a purpose. Lincoln once said everyone is born an original, but sadly most die copies. We don't need copies in this world. We need people that have the courage to tell their authentic story, to use their authentic voice, to breathe their truth into what we are. In Judaism, and I have studied Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, but Judaism, the uniqueness of this faith that has this strangeness in it, that reveres characters that actually fight with God. I mean, it's irrational to me that here's Moses, that man that got to go to Mount Nebo, who when he comes down from getting the Ten Commandments and sees his people worshiping the golden calf, and God says to them, oh, we'll just destroy these people and I'll give you some more. He says to God, imagine this, Mateni Nami Sifra. If you destroy these people, then erase me from your book. And it shows to me what the core calling of the Jewish people is to create a more just world. Not just for Jews. It's not an insular faith. Think about the celebration of Abraham, who, when he's sitting in pain after circumcision, which I can imagine is a very painful thing to do as an adult, for strangers, people that are not like him. 4 strangers come up to him, and he gets up in pain, and the Torah says he runs to them to greet them, to bring them into his tent, to wash their feet, to offer them the best food. This is before Abraham gets the blessing. And then after he gets the blessing, after his wife laughs, then what does he do? He argues with angels about destroying people. He argues for justice. Aren't two of the highest Jewish ideals then? The ideals of charity, of tzedakah, of kindness, of chesed, and the ideas of justice. To me, this is the call. And so organizations like this that come together, that focus on issues of prosperity, issues of growth, issues of, most importantly, values, to me are so urgently needed in this world. I live in Newark, New Jersey. It is a city that so many people for so many years have seen through small eyes, and have just seen it not through divine eyes, but seen it through small eyes. Emerson once said, that only which you have within can you see without. If you see no angels, it's because you harbor none. This is why I love developers, because they don't see what is. They see potential, they see possibility, they see hope, they see opportunity. And I'm in love with my city because I've been able to bond with other people that are not satisfied, who are not content, who are demanding, who know that we as a nation, when our children call, like a chorus to our conscience, black children and white children, Christian children and Jewish children, when they stand up and say those words, those 5 words, liberty and justice for all, There are people that said we can make this city reflect that. We can make it vibrant with those ideals. It's not easy. It's not something you can just speak and make it so, or pray and make it so. It takes hard work. For the last 6 years, we've been able to connect with people that share that vision, not for what is, but what could be, who wanted to exhibit not just their professional expertise, not just exhibit their talent and their intelligence, but wanted to exhibit the highest of their values to create in a city that other people have resigned themselves to be mediocre or worse. They wanted to show that we could do something great. And I'm so proud of what's happened over the last 6 years. If I took you back in time and said, look at Newark now, let's go 6 years in the future and imagine that this is possible. That we could have a city with the largest parks expansion in the city in a century, literally taking back acres and acres and acres of our city and creating parks, refurbishing them. In fact, this spring we're going to open up the first 15-acre park, the first time in the history of our city that we actually take back our waterfront and create it as a place for people to walk and walk. We're creating new recreation centers, taking back the 1938, Adam, you were around then, the 1938 Olympic trials were held in Newark at a place called School Stadium that now it had run down. We refurbished that. I take you up in a helicopter in 2006 and I said, stare closely at what you see because our skyline is going to change. And now here we are in Newark, seeing the first 2 new hotels in our downtown in 40 years. Office towers going up for the first time in 20 years. We mentioned so generously Panasonic. And now we have Prudential on the 3-yard line building another tower in our downtown. Hundreds of millions of dollars in new development. Developers coming from around the globe, Teachers Village, with Nicholas Reviewing, and some other great men like Ron Bate came together, folks from Goldman Sachs to the state, to the federal government, working together to create an entirely new neighborhood in our downtown. For the first time in 60 years, we have taken a city that was declining in population, and now we're rising in population again. People are coming to the city. We're building housing all over Newark, doubling the production of affordable housing and doing it the right way. Integrating market rate with affordable everywhere in our city. I was so proud, I just cut the ribbon the other day where we literally took 10 people out of our train station that were chronically homeless and put them into supportive housing. We didn't stop there. We're building the loft apartments in our downtown that are going up left and right. I can't believe it. And they're being swept up and rented up right away, but we're integrating affordable housing into that. We're creating a whole new city now in our downtown. Everywhere you look in Newark, our warehouse in Eastwood used to be empty places, and now it's filling up. Because we challenge people, it doesn't make sense to bring all your goods and services off of ships and into our port and load them up and drive them all the way down to exit 8A in New Jersey, warehouse them down there, and you all who drive to Parkway, you see these 8A warehouses out in the middle of nowhere, and then they put them back in trucks and drive them back up into Newark to put them on our ships and our rail line, wasting time, wasting fuel, wasting energy, hurting our environment, you name it. And we said, that's got to stop. And so we started building warehouses. One of them on spec, the first one. And now companies from all over the region are coming to be in Newark. Wakefern, the biggest distributor for ShopRite, is making one of their biggest refrigerated plants that's going to service from Baltimore to Boston in Newark, New Jersey. We have Damascus Bakery moving 100 jobs and building a facility in Newark, New Jersey. Bartlett's Dairy. If you eat in a Starbucks in Newark, the products have come from, eating at Starbucks in New York, the products have come from Newark, New Jersey. And let me tell you this. I love California. I went to Stanford University. Love Napa Valley. But the wine capital of America right now is Newark, New Jersey, because the global headquarters of Manischewitz. Imagine my joy to respectfully greet the head rabbi from Israel and allow him to give the Devar Torah first, and me to be able to stand up and give him a slight critique. Slight one. I had to be respectful. And then we turn around, and this is no joke, we broke the Guinness Book of World Records. I know you all didn't know this, but this is a fact you should take home and share. The Guinness Book of World Records now for the creation of the largest matzah was done in Newark, New Jersey. I took the first bite. So this is Newark. Everywhere you go in our city, from parks to housing to businesses, to big businesses, to corporations moving their headquarters back to our city, the population increasing, things are getting better. We're working on our schools and doing innovative things with creative public-private partnerships with other individuals, from philanthropists like Mark Zuckerberg to Bill Gates, saying, let's create a different model for our kids. Public safety, we're taking a city that used to have a reputation for crime and driving those rates down. Now, to me, this is what having vision is all about. This is when God leads you to a place that you can look over the hill and see a community for what it could be. You don't see it as it is, but you see it as a destiny, a calling. And that's, to me, what the work of this nation should be about. We cannot get soft. We cannot get top. We cannot be victims of our own success and become content with the nation as it is. America has a role and a responsibility. And now let me do something I shouldn't do, because I'm a local politician in Newark, New Jersey, but I want to say one thing. We have responsibilities in the world as well. This nation must stay strong. This nation must stay mighty, because we live in a dangerous world. We live in a world where there are people who are determined to do evil, who say it in their very charter of their organization, that their mission is to destroy other people. And we have a role in this nation that goes back to some of our founders, it goes back to some of our greatest presidents, that we should do in the world justice. It says in Micah, what award do you want from your people? To love God, to hate sin, and to do justice. I believe that's an American calling as well. And so whether it's the challenges going on in Sudan, whether it's conflicts in Europe, or especially whether it's Israel, we have to play a major role in protecting our allies, supporting our friends, and making this a more just world. My parents taught me as a kid that you should never allow your inability to do everything undermine your determination to do something. That all of us have a role to play. No matter how big the issue is, there's something we can do. If it's raising our voice, if it's taking one small action. In fact, my parents would insist to me that the history of the world is not about huge actors on the national stage, these rights of these men, these larger-than-life heroes that come down. No, that the truth of America, the truth of the globe, is ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And in fact, the biggest thing you can do in any day is a small act of kindness or goodness. To me, that's the responsibility we all have. In our family lives, in our professional lives, in larger policy issues, we have an obligation. I see an America in the future. An America that is stronger than the one we have now. An America that doesn't allow its cities to be disregarded, disrespected, or just plain dissed. An America that evidences its values in every corner and understands that there are no throwaway people, no throwaway neighborhoods, no throwaway cities.